Keen Lemos, and I'm here with Scarlett Trillia. Today we're talking about the mystical number 108 and its relationship to the sun and the moon and Vedic astrology, as well as this recent eclipse and the next eclipse cycle that we're moving into. How are you today, Scarlett?
I'm great. I'm a little disheveled here, but
Me too.
maybe that'll defer some of the sexual harassment we get when we go live on YouTube. In fact, I don't think it will, though.
I don't think it will either.
Like a paper bag over my head.
I mean, it's pretty funny because every single time we're like, oh my gosh, we have somebody who's commented. And then we're like, oh, someone commented.
Yeah, and then we don't read the comment, but we talked about it, and we decided that we're gonna just start reading the comments out loud. One of my favorite content creators, actually also is a Vedic astrologer. I don't listen to her astrology content, but I listen to some of her wisdom teachings, and she's recording from India. And this is so awesome. In one of her last sessions, she gets on the mic and she's like, okay, just before we start, I just want to remind everybody that this is a safe and spiritual space, and bringing hate and harassment into the comments is highly inappropriate. And she was kind of speaking about it from like the position of like, this is again, a safe space. This is where we come to learn, we come to support. It's just really misaligned to be behaving that way. And then she goes, also, I'm a lawyer and that's illegal.
Hell yeah, girl. Hell yes. Hell yes.
It's so important.
Hell yes, dude. I mean, this is the thing that is so frustrating is that, you know, we're here in the public sphere and we're offering these teachings absolutely for free, actually at a deficit to ourselves. People really enjoy this, and yet we have to field harassment. It's like
Constantly.
the equivalent of just wanting to walk down the street and go to work and having to mitigate like the male gaze and male harassment all the time. And that's exhausting. It's absolutely exhausting.
It is.
Yeah.
And it's not unique to us in any way. I mean,
No.
one of the reasons why I haven't been teaching very much postural yoga or offering very many services, although I'm stepping back into that now. And I think I finally found a way to do it that feels the most aligned for my areas of interest and focus. But one of the reasons why I stopped is because when I first moved back to the Bay Area, and I'm now in London, but when I first moved back to the city, I had placed advertisements that I thought, and I have a legitimate website, I have legitimate qualifications, and I had basically just said my preferred way to teach is in private or semi-private settings. I like small groups. I like to really personalize and customize my stuff. And I was solicited for sex so much from those advertisements that I shut it down and stopped teaching and got a job.
I remember that.
Yeah, I was like, this is it's so ridiculous.
Absolutely.
Like,
absolutely. And yeah. And so here we are giving a podcast about Jyotish and Ayurveda and non-sexual, for the most part, Tantra, authentic lineage Tantra, and the majority of our comments that come in via YouTube that we live stream, because some people really watch this on YouTube and love to watch the live stream that we do on YouTube, like locals. And I've had people, tell me, they're like, oh, I tune in and I watch your YouTube podcast and I love to watch it. But then the majority of the comments that we get, 98% are, hey, you guys are hot.
They're not even creative comments.
They're not, I know. I'm like, can you please?
That's not even creative.
Oh my
Hey,
goodness.
You want to come over to my house? It's like in what?
WYD. What you doing?
and then let's talk about the harmonic ratio between the divine masculine and feminine.
Yeah,
because
let's talk about the harmonic
because that-
ratio between divine masculine and
because
divine
that
feminine.
does exist. Because that does exist. And in doing this work, unfortunately for us, we could put us in the category of being both healers and teachers. In doing that work, we expose a lot of shadows. And what we're
Yes.
confronting in this conversation is the shadow side of the divine masculine. And what I think we need to continue to honor is all of the things that are opposite from that. And
Yes,
I'm
and
gonna-
this really ties into our conversation today, which is
It does.
about why every mala bead necklace has 108 beads, or generally all, and what does this have to do with the sun and the moon, our third eye, the eclipse, the shadow
eclipse.
players, Rahu and Ketu,
The
and
nakshatras.
the nakshatras, the star signs. So let's talk about 108 ratio.
Let's talk about it. And as a little bit of a lead-in and a reminder, today is September 9th. We're not,
Yes.
it's not part of our lineage to talk about like numerical portals from the Gregorian calendar, but we do like numbers and we do like math. And in a way, this whole episode is about math or mathematics. So it's also notable that today is the 9th day of the 9th month of the year 2025. 2 plus 0 plus 2 plus 5, 2025 adds up to 9. So it is a rare 999. And this won't happen again, I think, for 72 years, which is also 7 plus 2 is 9.
9. Yeah. And, we do have a system of numerology in Vedic astrology. I follow the one that Harish Johari gives. And he gives, we're drilling upstairs. It's super appropriate. He gives the number 9 associated with the planet Mars.
Mars. Action. Yeah.
Action.
And 9 is 108, which we're going to talk about, is 1 plus
Yes.
0 plus 8 is 9. And so it's a
Yes.
love, and we didn't plan this, but we are doing it on this special day. The total lunar eclipse. I like how in our last episode, I kept saying the full lunar eclipse, which is, I meant the total eclipse. It doesn't really matter, but every once in a while I listen to myself. I'm like, who taught you to speak English? I'm like,
I know.
was it non-native English speakers? I don't know. Maybe.
And I listen to myself and I'm like, wow, I am really intense about this. Actually, I have to do another little detour, and then we really are getting to 108. So I was teaching in our Ayurvedic yoga teacher training this weekend, and one of our dear Sangha friends had been listening to the podcast, and they go, I'm a huge baseball fan, and actually 108 does relate to baseball.
Okay.
But this person goes, it's like, you're the announcer and Scarlett is the color. Because when you listen to baseball or like sports announcing, there's always one person that does the play-by-play. And then there's there's the color who just like adds the spark and like just adds the banter, the commentary to make it listenable. So I like that. And then this person was like, well, sometimes Scarlett does the play-by-play and you're the color. So I think today, Scarlett, you're the
It's the
play-by-play
play-by-play.
and I get to be the
Ooh.
color.
Oh, okay, fun. You could be my fact checker as I try to turn everything into math, which my brain wants to do, but just going back to the language piece, I do try and give myself some grace. Like my whole life growing up, remember we used to hand write on paper all of our essays, and then they get all redlined by your teachers, and my teachers would always be like, beautiful writing, but your syntax is weird.
Yeah.
Because my brain isn't thinking in just this one language. Geez, you got what I meant. So
Right.
sometimes it's more about message than delivery. Okay, so let's see if we can do this. So today is 999. 2 days ago, we had a total lunar eclipse in Aquarius, in Purva Bhadrapada. We're going to talk about all of these things. In just under 2 weeks, on the 21st, we'll have a partial solar eclipse as the moon makes its way from full. So the moon is now waning to new moon in Leo. where the other side of the eclipse will occur. Okay, so what is an eclipse? That's where we're going to start. And how is it possible that a massive, massive sun, a relatively tiny moon, and Earth are able to create in their with shadows a total eclipse? And it's to do with mathematics, and that's and it becomes sacred. And I always doubt myself when I explain this, even though I think I know exactly what I'm trying to say. So here we go. The reason why this happens, and it was a certain number of years ago that I forgot to look up, but it's been in about the last, like 65,000 years or something like that, that this ratio between the sun and the moon and the earth has existed, and it will not always be this way. And in these spiritual sciences that we study, this harmonic ratio that creates these perfect eclipses is related to the evolution or the emergence and evolution of human consciousness. And now remember that the sun is the karaka, the planetary indicator of the soul, and the moon is the karaka of the mind primarily, and the emotions and the inner world. These are also, and this goes back to the earlier point, the divine masculine concept or principle of consciousness, pure consciousness, Shiva, and the divine feminine principle of energy or Shakti. And the Shiva,
And
Shakti,
I want to give color here.
Yes, please.
For the friends who are in our Ayurvedic yoga teacher training, these are also Purusha, the sun, and Prakriti, the moon, which,
Perfect.
Okay, now you continue.
And I think we could also safely say this is like Agni and Soma too.
Yes, Agni and Soma. So
and for teacher trainers,
fire and nectar, or fire and water.
And it can also be, and we won't go, but we could do a lot of binary opposites coming into harmony in this conversation. Another one that we talk about a lot, and some of my students, we've been doing more breath work recently. So Ida and Pingala, actually in that order, that would be the lunar and solar, or the cool and hot Ida, Pingala, the side channels, the nadis that wrap around the
sympathetic
central
and parasympathetic nervous system, which also relate to Rahu and Ketu. The two nodes of the moon that cause the eclipse. 7 visible planets, 7 chakras. We talked about this on an episode. Then Rahu, Ketu, which are the side channels. And we have to be okay with multidimensional reality and things being both the sun and the moon, and also being Rahu and Ketu, and this overlay of symbols and indicators. Okay. Take it away. Do the play-by-play, Scarlett.
Sure. And one of the most confusing ones, and this is where we really have to hold multiple truths, is that the moon is the divine feminine principle and has a masculine personality and is the husband of all 27 star signs. So we're just
in the mythology, and we're okay with this. And there's ways we could dive deep into the mythologies of the moon and an understanding of why that feminine is masculine, and the prizing of femininity even in the masculine in South Asian art, for example. Let's move on.
Well, let's move on. Okay, so how does an eclipse work? And as a reminder, Rahu and Ketu, who form the eclipse axis and create those shadows, they don't have physical form. They are the shadows themselves. And it's a shadow that's either caused by the earth being in between the sun and the moon on a perfect 180 degrees, 1 + 8 + 0, 9, 180 degree axis. Or when the moon, how is it that the moon is blocking the sun's light? So when we see a partial solar eclipse, the moon is blocking our view of the sun temporarily. So these are literally physical planetary bodies lining up, creating shadows that we consider to be karmic entities. So just a little background. And the reason why this is possible is that there is this 108 kind of golden ratio, which is and tell me if I've got this right or wrong. I never do, by the way, I never do any research or bring any notes to the podcast because I don't want to just get distracted by that.
Because you're the color.
Because I'm the color, just show up, I'm just commentating. So the diameter of the sun and the diameter of the moon, respectively, times the number 108 is equal to their distance from Earth. So although
yes.
they are not the same
The
size.
distance, I'll say that again. The
Okay.
distance from the Earth to the sun is 108 suns. The distance from the Earth to the moon is 108 moons. And
That's a
so
lovely way of
this
saying
makes the sun and moon appear the same size from Earth. And this is what makes eclipses possible.
For now.
For now.
So there was a time, pre-human consciousness time, when Earth, some people believe and do not believe, but generally speaking, we acknowledge that the Earth came before the human mind developed. And there was a time when those eclipses were not happening that way. And there will be a time again when we fall out of that ratio, which is really interesting. Ooh, I just saw in the New York Times, my mom, of all people, sent me a New York Times article that's explaining that Western astrology is 2,000 years out of date, and I was like, yes,
yes.
I've been
Actually,
saying
one of
this.
my students mentioned this. One of my JoJo students mentioned this to me yesterday, and I also saw your mom yesterday. So
Did you?
that's
Oh,
lovely.
lovely.
Yes, I did.
Oh, hey, Mom.
Yeah,
So-
it was really nice.
So the mainstream is catching on to what we've been kind of marginalized for being excited about.
So, 108 beads in a mala, that is where mantras are chanted. So each bead, each breath, each mantra is a step that aligns the inner sun and moon.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. And where else do we come across 108? I'll tell you what I did today when I was thinking about the podcast. I double checked because I couldn't generally remember, but I was like, I wonder if that song Right Here, Right Now by Fatboy Slim has 108 repetitions.
Does
it doesn't. No, it does not. I counted them.
But I have one. I
Okay.
have one. And I admit I looked this up, but so I was thinking about the Bonnie Tyler song Total Eclipse of the Heart.
Oh, awesome.
The radio edit is 1 minute and 8 seconds,
Yes.
right?
That is awesome. And you
Isn't that
do-
awesome? And I think they did it. And then, okay, so and this would be like my movie pick, I guess, or it's TV movie. In the TV show Lost, which ultimately became so disappointing, their Dharma Initiative computer, it was called the Dharma Initiative computer. This is such a wink by Hollywood writers. It had to be reset every 108 minutes with the numbers 4, 8, 15, 16, 23, 42, which all add up to 108.
Awesome. Yeah. And you do see this once, and this is, a lot of people talk about seeing repeating patterns of numbers as like signs or indicators or affirmations. I had a really big one while I told you about this. I was on the phone with my parents and I saw like 66666666, and I had just been telling them about the number 6. And then I saw them all at once and we were just kind of laughing about it. It does happen. But once you become aware of this particular number, 108, you will see where it has been intentionally and quote-unquote coincidentally placed into popular culture references.
The Mahabharata, the great epic of India, has 108 names of the goddess, 108 warriors, 108 arrows of the god Arjuna. But this one is my favorite one. A baseball. That's a regulation baseball, unless they've changed it, which I'd be mad, but it has 108 double stitches.
Awesome. I love
Also,
that.
golf, the diameter of the hole is 108 millimeters.
There's a lot of these. And think about a golf ball going into a hole. That's very much like an eclipse. Side note, and we can come back to our popular culture, but I think my fashion pick is like any clothing that has like a cutout You know how you can get like a like with the little cutout, like sexy cutout holes to expose like some part of your body. That's my pick.
Say more. Why is that your pick, please?
It's like the golf ball going into the hole. I don't know. It creates a little shadow. You know, like the shadow. Like, I don't know. Right? It could be the back, like the little teardrop shape.
I'm envisioning it. I just don't understand why.
I don't know. I mean, like, I have a tattoo on my sternum, and so
yes, you do.
I have a few items of clothing that have a cutout there, and you can see it. But then, like, a shadow will fall over it. Whatever. I mean, we'll come back to this. But hang on. So, in the Vedic astrological charts that we've been talking about now now we're into our second season of discussing this topic on air. We come across these same number patterns frequently. So 360 degrees, for example, is 3 plus 6 plus 0 is 9. So you get a lot of 9s and you get a lot of hundreds and 8s. Yeah. And this is it by design? Like, how do we interpret that? Another important example is the nakshatras that we've been speaking about. Yes. There are 27 of them, each with 4 padas, and 4 times 27 is 108. 27, yes. 2 plus 7 is 9. The eclipse axis, like I already said, where Rahu and Ketu are always 180 degrees away from each other, 1 plus 8 plus 0, always 9. Which is the high, and again, today's like 999. It's the highest number before the cycle repeats. So it's kind of like the ultimate one. There must be other ones that I'm not thinking of right now, but they'll probably pop out. But I think it's all to say that, you know, we've figured out languages and stories and metaphors to help essentially translate the mathematical reality of our outer world into our, what have we translated it into our inner spiritual development. And it really is like a code, which is why we try to pick The Matrix as our movie pick for every session, because it's just a film. But that's really kind of what we're talking about, where it's like this manifest reality that we're getting to interact with each other in is held together by binary code and by mathematics at the end of the day. That's that kind of. Yeah. And
so I'll just give a little bit more on this. You know, in the tantric view, there are 50 sounds in Sanskrit which correspond to a petal on the chakras. And so multiplying them across the subtle body, you get 50 times 2 for Shiva and Shakti. Then you get the Bindu, the droplet, the nada, the sound, you get shunya, the void, and you reach 108. And then also 9 planets and 12 rashis, 12 sun signs. We get 108. And many traditions align 108 nadis or channels emerging from the heart itself. And there are also, there's this thing in Vedic and Tantric tradition, I don't like that word, but whatever, that's the one we've got, where you have a certain number of something, and then you have one more that encompasses all of them. So like we have 9 Mahavidyas, 9 goddess energies, and then there's another one. Or we have 27 nakshatras, and then there's also Abhijit, which is the 28th, which we don't talk about much. But in most of the teachings on vital points, acupoints in the body, there are 107 acupoints, and then there's the whole body, which is 108. So we find this over and over again.
Over and over again. And I would be so fascinated to hear from people who are in other fields if they come across this in other contexts, because it's very possibly true. And we'll keep thinking of examples. Those are I mean, those are the best ones. I forgot about the Nadis of the Heart
Yeah.
also being 108. Hmm.
So let's see. Total Eclipse of the Heart, Dark Side of the Moon, Dark Side of the Moon, Pink
Dark Side of the
Floyd.
Moon is a great. It's a
Oh,
great
Black
pick.
Hole Sun.
Oh, excellent one.
Chris
Oh,
Cornell.
yeah.
Actually, I often play a game
yeah.
with people. I often play a game with people, and y'all can do this who are listening and send us your answer on one of the various platforms. We'd love that. You can make a band from any musicians throughout history, but you have to pick a singer who is American. And it's very hard. Like, who is your number one rock singer who is born in America? They're not very many. Most are British. And like, but I always like, my pick is Chris Cornell. And so Black Hole Sun. Yeah.
That's a good one. That's a great Eclipse song. So for fashion, those of us who pay attention may have noticed in the last 5 years, it really started to happen, I feel like, in 2020. There was a trend of those usually black and white, sometimes other colors, but typically black and white, like split. So it's like one half of a cardigan is white and one half is black, or one pant leg.
Totally. I was thinking about this.
Yeah, that's very appropriate. Like a suit of that would be a very appropriate Eclipse attire.
Absolutely.
With a cutout, sexy cutout hole, if you want. Or like wearing two different colored shoes, like a dark and a light shoe. Yeah.
Oh, and then of course, our movie pick, I mentioned Lost, but we want 2001: A Space Odyssey.
Do we? Haven't we picked that one before?
For sure.
No?
What?
Have we picked that one before?
No.
Oh,
we have
okay.
not.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm picking it.
Okay, we're gonna have to probably use that again when we start to really reflect on like true AI takeover of the world.
That's true, absolutely.
But stay tuned. We
Stay tuned for that.
Is
Is there anything else that we want to say specifically or generally about this eclipse or the one that's coming up?
So
before you tell the story about the cosmic slap.
Well, okay, so the one that just occurred this Sunday, and we discussed this in our last episode, is in a nakshatra called Purva Bhadrapada, which it has 3 padas in Aquarius and the 4th in Pisces, so it's one that spans multiple rashis. And it carries a symbol of a lightning bolt, which is kind of like a cosmic slap. Like lightning doesn't knock. I mean, I guess the thunder's like the knock, but lightning doesn't like slowly come in and hang out and then slowly retreat. It's just like a bolt. And
also the lightning or thunder is called Marut in Sanskrit, and it has a lot of significance in tantric teachings. We find it in Vijnana Bhairava Tantra and elsewhere, and it's like this flash of awakening.
And we often talk about awakening as a flash. I mean, even in popular culture, we'll talk about a light bulb moment of innovation where you suddenly have an idea, a brilliant idea. The light bulb goes on. And what we talked about in our last episode in an eclipse, it's a little bit like when it is literally like the lights temporarily get shut off. And it might be for a few seconds or a few minutes, but relative to all time, it is like a flash of darkness or a sudden shadow. And it's in that shadow time and the days following or the weeks following and even the days leading up to it that massive shifts may occur for the collective and for the individual. Especially with this 999 thing, there's a lot of different channels towards sudden change that are all being presented in this time period and are kind of up for analysis. But so an eclipse itself is a lights out kind of elimination moment is usually what it's considered. You don't usually try to bring things in on an eclipse. You usually let things go, turn them off. let them go away. With the energy, particularly of Purva Bhadrapada and this strike of lightning, and it can be related in that star sign also to a strike of enlightenment, like we talked about, or a sudden rising of Kundalini. There can be this. It's kind of like getting slapped to your senses. And I did slap somebody this weekend. I don't think I've ever slapped somebody in my life. It was a stranger. And it was during a conversation, a spontaneous conversation. I was with a friend, and this person and this is very similar to how we started the episode, where it's like, here we are just trying to do our best thing, our spiritual thing, give our offering to the world, and often these disruptive energies will find their way in. So in this case, I was sitting in a public place with a great friend of mine, and we were talking about mindset and mentality, and how we can decide that we, right now, right here in this very moment, feel
right now,
right here, right now, 108 times over, we feel like we are wealthy and happy and whole and complete and vibrant. And we were kind of just sitting with that, like, oh, we can just decide that this is the best possible life we've ever wanted to live. And we were sitting there and we were like, wow, that feels really good. It feels great. And we were just sitting in these two chairs, and then this man nearby to us got into like a sudden altercation that, well, in his mind, basically.
Of course he did.
Yeah, there was like this sudden altercation where he was like, that person was trying to accuse me of stealing my own bike, and we were like, well, he's gone now. If you'd like to sit with us and settle down, you're welcome to join this really good vibe that we're trying to curate. And so he came and sat. So he came and sat with us, and we were like, wow, you seem like you're really, really stuck in your head about things that are not serving you, sir. And he was like, yeah. And I was like, I'd like to invite you to relax. Anyway, but long story short, it led to him getting slapped in the face.
Bravo.
Bravo. It was invited. He asked me to marry him after that, actually. Or like, he was like, I'd like you to be mine. I was like, well, no. But again, with the totally inappropriate comments from strangers. But
I just laugh. Well, I mean, that's what they kind of. I'm sorry, that's what they kind of want. It's like
that's
finally somebody's.
So people do want to be slapped to their senses, and getting.
Yes.
I mean, we typically associate that with a really negative, violent connotation. But the way it played out, it was like this playful, like, wow. He was like, I'm just so tense. It was like, okay, you can relax. And then he was like, could not be in the moment. And I just, for whatever reason, I would just like pushed his face back, right? And it's like that snap will stay, and we were talking about this. Sometimes a teacher will suddenly strike a student, like in a state of meditation, or like on my way to one of our teacher trainings, I got hit in the head, like cartoonishly, by the handle of a broom. Like I literally like stood on a rake, and it like slapped me in the face.
And also you had a car door right at your ajna after a fire yagya, and we'd been working with Chamunda. And I mean, this is not in any way to excuse violent or abusive teachers, and this is why we have to be very, very careful. Just because a teacher hits you doesn't mean that they are enlightened or you are enlightened or any of these things. And yet there is this time, like there are these instances where, and in all of the myths, especially in like Zen Buddhism, etc., where the teacher slaps the student and they are instantaneously enlightened.
Well, and I think you can't really plan it. Like it was such an unconscious and strange thing for me to do.
Yes.
Very, very out of character, strange behavior. And of course, this is under the darkness, the darkness of night and the full moon rising. rising, right?
Yeah, and
With
the
this
eclipse.
And the eclipse. And this is the eclipse that strikes lightning down to awaken consciousness and Kundalini.
And
It
it's a
wasn't like,
very fierce,
it's
that
very
energy, that
fierce
nakshatra
energy.
is fierce, and Aja Ekapada is a very fierce deity with two faces, one of creation and one of destruction, and a relationship, pardon me,
and
to Agni.
And I felt kind of weird about it, but what I realized is that this person was he was kind of admitting it to us, like a rock bottom moment in this person's life. And he was like, wow, you guys are just so cool. Like, it feels so good to be near you. And we were like, yeah, and you can decide right now that you want to be happy. We're all sitting in the exact same place, doing the exact same thing. You can make the choice to decide that this is the life that you want to be living. And he was like, but this, no, that, excuse. And then he got slapped in the face. And I think possibly this is like a metaphor for exactly everything we've been talking about in the last couple of episodes. And I have a feeling that person may be reflecting on that moment. I will probably never see them again, but it was just a very strange thing to observe happening in this eclipse energy. And there may be things that happen for people. I'm telling this story because it may feel that way this week, or for the next few weeks, where something just gets slapped out of you and doesn't come back, like a sense of whatever it may be. Oh, this thing isn't serving me, or this is a relationship that I don't want to be in, or this is a pattern that I've maintained in my work that I don't want to follow anymore, whatever it is. And these eclipses with this beautiful golden 108 ratio carry, in a sense, that power. Which is also what you were saying, we chant the mala 108 repetitions of a mantra, and what we're doing is creating a sound vibration, a specific sound vibration that works to alter our karma and our consciousness.
Correct.
That's
That's what it is.
That's what it is.
I think we've done it.
Have
Thank
we
you for
done
tuning in. We'll see
have-
you next week.
Right.
Om Namah Shivaya. All right.
Okay.